So
do you have a badge?
Yes,
Are you retired?
Yes.
Do you want to go for 148 for being in a crime scene? Just because sergeants at patrol don't know how to do their job, and you were a
You're
cop
saying your sergeant doesn't know how to do his job?
Take him. Turn him around.
Yeah. You ain't gotta cry no more. I promise that I got you when that's on my soul. Double checking for the weakest, man, that's all I know. I remember bagging up at that corner store, but now we blowing smoke. And that's all I know. Yeah, at that PLO.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Top BUXAPLENTY here, checking in with the BUXAPLENTY squad. Happy Tuesday. I hope y'all morning's going good, you feel me? Wake up, smell the coffee. But we're gonna get straight into the video because this video is like 18 minutes or whatever, so we're gonna get straight into it. So basically, this is a YouTuber called Audit the Audit, I think that's how you say it. My bad if I'm saying wrong, but yeah, it's like Audit the Audit, something like that. And basically, he shows like different situations and scenarios, and then he explained the laws with it. So like I watched a couple of videos of the people that went through the same thing as me. Like if you still haven't seen that video of me getting arrested or whatever, that video is gonna pop up now. But basically it's like he shows different situations, and then either he'll show how the cop did a good job or how the cop did a bad job, and then he'll explain the laws with it, so you could, like, just in case you ever in that situation, you could look back at one of these videos and get an understanding of the power that we have. But the video I'm bringing you guys today, we got cops arrest firefighters who saved a civilian's life. That sounds crazy. How do somebody save somebody's life and they get arrested? So we're gonna get straight into that video. Y'all go grab y'all popcorn, coffee, whatever. And we getting straight into this. Audit the audit. Got it right. Okay. All right, I'm gonna pause it. Now y'all could go pause it yourself and y'all watch it.
Welcome to
read it.
Audit, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. This episode covers crime scenes, detentions, and obstruction, and it's brought to us by investigative journalist Tony Biasotti from the Ventura County Star. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. On October 9th, 2020, retired firefighter Joseph Garces was driving his Jeep in Santa Paula, California, when he saw shooting victim Samir Salgado lying face up in a parking lot in a pool of liquid. Mr. Garces pulled over next to the man, and when he realized the liquid was blood, he got out of his vehicle and began to administer CPR. Shortly thereafter, several officers with the Santa Paula Police Department arrived on the scene, and the interaction that followed was captured on their body cameras.
Don't go to the car. Don't go to that car. Stay over here. Stay over here. Stay over here. Come over here.
Okay.
That's your car?
That's my car. I was driving by. I saw him. I'm a retired firefighter.
Okay.
Not a part of this.
We don't
Why he can't go to his car? So I'm trying to
know anything
what's
about
going
that.
on.
If you see a gun in the car, you're not going there. Do you have your ID?
Oh, okay, so he got a gun in the car, you feel me? So they don't want him to go back to the car. All right, that's understandable. Somebody just got shot on the floor, I think. There's blood on the floor, so they don't want him to go back to the car. Okay.
It's in the car.
What's your name?
Joe Garces.
Joe Garza, you gotta relax, okay? We know you're helping us out.
Wait, but you guys aren't listening either. That's part of the problem. Yeah.
So I said we appreciate your being involved. Okay. We just run it.
That's his knife. I took it out of his pocket to cut his shirt
Okay.
off.
And that's your vehicle.
Yeah, I was driving north. I saw the lady. They were looking this way, and I saw him down, and I thought it was beer or something. Spun around and came in, saw the blood. She said they were calling 911. I screamed, has he been shot? And she said, yeah, as I was pulling in.
Okay.
Saw the gunshot wound to the side of his face. I did a quick check, found the gun in his waistband, rendered it useless, stuck it inside my car, grabbed his knife, cut off his shirt, and then you guys started showing up.
Damn, so he got shot on the side of his face, and he got his gun on him too? He must got beef or something. I don't know. He probably in it. Nah, I'm not even gonna say in the gang. A lot of things just happened. What is that though? I forgot. I didn't even hear what they said. But this look like Cali or something, but whatever. Like, that's crazy though, how he got shot in his face, and he still got his thing on him. So that tells y'all people that be swearing, oh, because I got my gun, anybody still touchable. I just know that.
Okay.
Did you
see anybody running?
Nothing.
Anybody leaving the area? Anything?
Not a thing.
Someone relieves him, get a mask.
Not a thing.
Get this guy out of here. Sir.
He's a witness.
What the?
Relax.
Why he being mad disrespectful for talking about get him out of here? He just asked him to explain the story, like, chill.
We appreciate it.
Huh?
So I got a crime scene, sir. I'm a detective.
Yeah, and I'm here helping him, so step the off. Okay? If you're a good detective, you wouldn't be yelling at me right now. You'd be taking care of your job.
Over here.
Yeah, you. I can't get the out of here.
Get out of my crime scene. Get out of my crime scene.
What are you gonna do to me?
Get out of my crime scene. I'm gonna make you.
Bro, people, they be giving power to the wrong people because he's higher. You see the other cops cannot say nothing because he's higher than them. Basically, he's a detective or whatever. But at the same time, it's like, yo, bro, he was explaining the situation. First of all, y'all don't want him to go to his car. Now he can't even go to his car because the gun is inside there. The guy wound up taking the guy's gun and putting it inside his car. And then he took the knife, cut his shirt on. I heard the story, whatever. But it's like at the same time, like, yo, bro, he was just explaining that to the cop. Like, let him explain, and then he gonna probably get it on. Like, you feel me? It's his car, though. Like, I wouldn't want to leave my car either. I'm not leaving no crime scene. My car right there. Like, fiending.
Get out of my crime scene.
Come with me, Mr. Garces. Mr. Garces.
That's my.
Come with me, Mr. Garces.
Detective Chris Rivera arrives and orders Mr. Garces to get out of his crime scene, and the other officers lead Mr. Garces outside the perimeter of the scene. Officers generally have the authority to close a crime scene to the public, and as the Supreme Court noted in the 1972 case of Brandsburg versus Hayes, even the press has, quote, no constitutional right of access to the scenes of crime or disaster when the general public is excluded. According to the U.S. Department of Justice publication Crime Scene Investigation, a guide for law enforcement, one of the first tasks an initial responding officer should undertake upon arriving at a crime scene is to secure and control persons at the scene. The guide explains that, quote, controlling, identifying, and removing persons at the crime scene and limiting the number of persons who enter the crime scene and the movement of such persons is an important function of the initial responding officers in protecting the crime scene, and states that the initial responding officer should, quote, control all individuals at the scene and prevent individuals from altering or destroying physical evidence by, quote, restricting movement, location, and activity while ensuring and maintaining safety at the scene. Additionally, first responding officers should identify all individuals at the scene, secure and separate suspects and witnesses, and remove bystanders from the scene. Here, because Mr. Garces was a witness.
But what if at the situation, like, what if you outside the scene, you recording? First of all, these cops be using excessive force to get you from recording or whatever. I understand, like, you're not supposed to be recording during the situation, because why are you recording during a situation like this anyway? But you feel me? This how the news be getting out. This how we understand, like, what's going on around the world, because of people's recording and stuff. You know, everything's being captured by cameras, but at the same time, it's like, bro, like, he's a witness, but I don't know. If he could be removed, he could be removed. But at the same time, it's like, yo, bro, the guy was asking him questions. He got a pen in his hand, so obviously he's writing down notes, and then you telling him about why he's still here. Like, bro, calm down. Like, just because you got more power don't mean you could talk to that officer the way how you want to, nor that firefighter the way how you want to. Like,
who was being interviewed, it seems more appropriate under the DOJ's guidelines that he would be secured and separated.
And that's a fact, though. Like, first of all, you see the guy that's on the floor. First of all, I respect the guy that's trying to give him what he doing, CPR, whatever. He's doing all that. You feel me? I respect him because he's the only one that's over there trying to help. The other officers worrying about the guy being there. Like, bro, go worry about the guy that's on the floor. Like,
without necessarily being removed from the scene like a bystander would be. However, given the broad discretion that officers have to protect and secure crime scenes, a court would likely conclude that Detective Rivera had the authority to remove Mr. Garces from the perimeter.
Yeah. You think you're being caught, that's how you act. No wonder people don't give you guys the benefit of the doubt. And I worked with you, 27 years. When do I get my car back then? Hey, tell them. Thank you for teaching me not to be helpful, you fat piece.
You have to step back. Step back. Step back. Step back. Step back. Step back. I don't know who you're.
Oh yeah, so now you're gonna come over with me, huh? You're doing a really good job right now, aren't you?
I need you to back up.
You need to calm him.
I need you to back up. Come here.
No,
I got him. I got him. I got him. Come here.
No, you need to understand. Hands off him.
But he could not put his hand on him, bro. Why you putting your hand on him? Like, he's talking. He have the freedom. First, all right, he do got to be behind the line, but he have the freedom to voice his opinion and how he feel. That's why it's called the freedom of speech. Why are you touching him and you doing all this for?
Really, the pain compliance, that's what we need to do? Because you don't like being talked.
What's his name?
You do not need to use excessive force if the person is not using excessive force towards you. He's just using words. If you can't control your feelings.
After Mr. Garces shouts at Detective Rivera from outside the parking lot, Detective Rivera leaves the scene, approaches Mr. Garces, and puts his hand on his shoulder. Mr. Garces pulls his arm away and uses a profanity to tell Detective Rivera to keep his hands off him. In response, Officer Rivera immediately grabs Mr. Garces' right arm, wrenches it behind his back, and C-clamps his forearm and elbow. As we have discussed before on ATA, in order for an officer's use of force against a citizen to be constitutional, it must be, quote-unquote, reasonable under the Fourth Amendment, which guarantees citizens the right, quote, to be secure in their person.
Well, that wasn't reasonable. The guy, like I said, the guy just doing freedom of speech. He's talking from a distance. You left the scene to come touch this guy. Like, what are you talking about?
Against unreasonable seizures. In the 1989 case of Graham versus Connor, the Supreme Court explained that, quote, determining whether the force used to effect a particular seizure is reasonable under the Fourth Amendment requires a careful balancing of the nature and quality of the intrusion on the individual's Fourth Amendment interests against the countervailing governmental interests at stake. And while the court noted that, quote, Fourth Amendment jurisprudence has long recognized that the right to make an arrest or investigatory stop necessarily carries with it the right to use some degree of physical coercion or threat thereof to effect it, it ultimately concluded that the force used to conduct an arrest or investigatory detention must be justified under, quote, the facts and circumstances of each particular case, including the severity of the crime at issue, whether the suspect poses an immediate threat to the safety of the officers or others, and whether he is actively resisting arrest or attempting to evade arrest by flight. We will discuss whether Detective...
Well, he did not. Well, in my opinion, we about to see right now through the video, but in my opinion, he did not do none of that.
Rivera had reasonable suspicion or probable cause to detain or arrest Mr. Garces later in this episode. But even assuming that Detective Rivera had the authority to seize Mr. Garces, any offense he could be suspected of committing was nonviolent and not particularly serious. And there was no evidence that he posed a danger to anyone's safety, as he was simply involved in a verbal altercation and at no point made any physical threats or moved his body in a threatening way. As for the third factor, whether Mr. Garces was actively resisting arrest, Detective Rivera never informed Mr. Garces that he was being detained or arrested, and never requested that he put his hands behind his back or otherwise comply with other commands. So it would be unfair to characterize him pulling away from Detective Rivera and telling him not to touch him as an attempt to resist an arrest. Applying the 3 Graham factors to this situation, it is certainly possible that a jury would conclude that Detective Rivera's use of force was unreasonable and excessive under the Fourth Amendment. Likewise, the so-called C-clamp grab may have violated the Santa Paula Police Department's use of force policy, which states that, quote, officers shall use only that amount of force that reasonably appears necessary given the facts and totality of the circumstances known to or perceived by the officer at the time of the event to accomplish a legitimate law enforcement purpose. And that, quote, officers may only use a level of force that they reasonably believe is proportional to the seriousness of the suspected offense or the reasonably perceived level of actual or threatened resistance. Because Mr. Garces did not appear to be any sort of physical threat, was not suspected of a serious crime, and was not resisting a stated attempted arrest, he has a strong argument that Detective Rivera's use of force violated his department's use of force policy.
What is helping that person? Take it down a notch.
You can take
it down a notch.
Somebody here's not controlling themselves. It's you.
Take a deep breath.
Don't be a hypocrite.
He's typing. Why he's in his motions for? Like, that's the reason why, like, people, like I said, they're giving the wrong people power. Because you and your emotions, he's talking from a distance verbally, like the person said. So why are you using excessive force? Like, I'm telling you right now, because I'm so like, what the hell?
I've taken a deep breath. It's your turn now.
Yeah, go be a hypocrite.
You want to talk like adults? I'll let you go.
Okay,
you want to talk like
did you
adult?
start talking to me like an adult?
Do you understand how I need to do my job?
Do you see what you're doing wrong?
If you know how to do this job and you have a badge, then you would understand. Now, do you want to go for 148 if you have a badge?
It's so
Do you have a badge?
Yes,
Are you retired?
Yes.
Do you want to go for 148 for being in a crime scene? Just because sergeants at patrol don't know how to do their job, and you were a
You're
cop
saying your sergeant doesn't know how to do his job?
Take him. Turn him around. Where's your badge at?
Why are you taking him for?
Like I keep saying, but you won't listen.
We're adding your G.
You will see it when you look
Do
at
you
the
want
front
your car? Do you want me to have to write a search warrant and keep it, or do you want to keep your car? Do you want to get home as soon as possible?
I'm not talking anymore.
Okay.
He's so, yo, cops is so weird, bro. What is he getting locked up for? Because he said something about his surgeon that he can't do his work and he just said it out loud. Like, why you tight for? You should never said that. You said that out your mouth. Ain't your body cam on anyway?
Joe.
Hey, check that out. I stopped to help somebody been shot. I'm getting arrested.
Have a seat for a second.
Just so you know, I'm retired because of PTSD.
Got it.
Major anxiety problems.
Got it.
Being in handcuffs doesn't help me. And I know you guys got to do it. Keep away from me.
You got it.
He is accelerating this way more than I am.
I won't let him talk to you anymore. You want the windows down or anything? How
Can we just sit right here with me, the door open? I ain't going anywhere, dude. You guys all know
I'll
where
sit
I
right
live.
here for now.
I mean, I know what you guys do. I mean, I did it with you for 27 years in Oxnard, not Santa Paula.
Right.
To have that happen, that's as unprofessional as anything I did, and a cop shouldn't lose it like that. You and I both know that.
Do me a favor, just sit here for now.
No problem. Well, they know that. I already told the first couple guys here that there's a gun on the floor of of the driver.
Okay.
Oh, dude, this is gonna freak me out. Come back quick.
I'll roll down the windows.
I can't stand this.
Okay. And what was your last name, sir?
Garces.
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 Okay. And you're detained right now. Okay. You're
Yeah,
not under arrest. All right, man.
Yeah, I totally get it.
Cool.
The officer informs Mr. Garces that he's being detained and is not under arrest, despite the fact that he has been placed in handcuffs in the backseat of a police vehicle. Although the use of arrest-type detention methods, such as handcuffing an individual or placing them in a police vehicle, does not necessarily transform a reasonable suspicion-based detention into an arrest requiring probable cause, as the 2nd District Court of Appeal of California explained in the 2008 case of In re Antonio B., quote, "When the detention exceeds the boundaries of a permissible investigative stop, the detention becomes a de facto arrest requiring probable cause." The court recognized that handcuffing a suspect did not convert a detention during stops where, quote, "the officer had a reasonable basis to believe the detainee presented a physical threat to the officer or would flee, but ultimately concluded that the use of handcuffs in question transformed a detention to an arrest when the officers had no basis to believe that the individual posed a danger to them, or that handcuffing him was necessary to effectuate the purpose of the stop. Here, it does not seem that the officers conducted any further investigation of Mr. Garces once he was detained, and he would have a valid argument that placing him.
They just placing him in the back of the truck for no reason. Then basically, that's what they basically saying. They not doing an investigation about it. They about to go finish doing what they were doing. They're just gonna leave him in the back of the truck the whole time until they done, or until they want to release him, because a cop want to be in his feelings and nobody else that's higher than him, or well, not higher than him, but nobody else is higher than that cop, so nobody can do anything about it.
Him in a police vehicle in handcuffs constituted an arrest because he was not a physical threat or a flight risk. Still, even if a court determined that Mr. Garces was simply being detained and not arrested, it is unclear whether the officers had the reasonable suspicion to do so constitutionally. Section 148 of the California Penal Code makes it a crime to willfully resist, delay, or obstruct a peace officer, quote, "in the discharge or attempt to discharge any duty of his or her employment." Although it could be argued that Mr. Garces delayed Detective Rivera in his investigation of the crime scene, as the 4th District Court of Appeal of California explained in the 1989 case of Long versus Valentino, quote, "Speech is generally protected by the First Amendment, even if it is intended to interfere with the performance of an officer's duty, provided no physical interference results. Nonetheless, there is nothing in the statute that limits its application to nonverbal conduct. And in the 1996 case of People versus Robles, the Appellate Division of the Superior Court of California held that an individual could be convicted for obstructing when he warned a suspect of an undercover officer's identity, causing him to run. Likewise, in the 2002 case of In re Mohammed C., the 6th District Court of Appeal of California upheld a conviction under the statute when an individual, quote, "willfully delayed the officer's performance of duties by refusing the officer's repeated request that he step away from the patrol car, because 3 officers had to order him to step away a total of 5 times before he complied, and the officers had to interrupt their investigation to deal with him." Still, in reaching this decision, the court noted that the statute does not require individuals to immediately comply with police orders, and that the conviction in this case was warranted because the defendant did not merely fail to respond to an order, but, quote, "affirmatively responded to the police orders with defiance." Applying this precedent, it is possible that a court could conclude that Mr. Garces delayed the investigation by arguing with Detective Rivera and not immediately exiting the crime scene when ordered to do so. Or, at the very least, a court could determine that the officers had reasonable suspicion to believe that he had committed this offense. However, given the strong historical recognition by the courts that criticism of the police is protected by the First Amendment, it seems more likely that a court would decide that Mr. Garces was engaged in protected speech, and that because he did comply with the orders to exit the crime scene in a reasonable time frame, he did not violate the obstruction statute.
You see why I like this channel? Because he gets into the law and then he breaks it down for you, quotes it and everything. That's the reason why I like this video. So y'all definitely gotta go check this out for sure. My fault to cut the video, but I just had to tell y'all that. Okay.
Absolutely. Hey, Cap, can we get some decontamination for a guy in the back of the car here? He was doing CPR, got blood on him. I got the fire captain come over to decontamination. I don't know. I've been standing over here. This is the one that needs decontaminated. Cap, he has blood on him. Yeah, he's actually a witness, but he was doing CPR when we came up, and we had to.
Where's the blood on him? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
Probably on his hands.
So I think afterwards, the other cop said to not worry about it. To I don't know. But.
I'm good with that.
The officers held Mr. Garces in the back of the patrol car for about 15 minutes, after which Detective Rivera uncuffed Mr. Garces and told him he was free to leave. Sometime later, Mr. Garces requested emergency medical services, and a police officer called an ambulance for him. Mr. Garces was treated at Community Memorial Hospital in Ventura, California, and reportedly suffered a dislocated shoulder and torn labrum that had to be surgically repaired. No charges were filed against Mr. Garces. Mr. Salgado survived the shooting, and a suspect was apprehended and charged with attempted murder a few days later. As of the date of writing this episode, the charges are still pending. On August 19th, 2021, Mr. Garces filed a federal lawsuit against Detective Rivera and the city of Santa Paula, alleging civil rights violations, including a federal claim for excessive force and several state law claims. On March 24th, 2023, U.S. District Judge Fernando Anaya Rocha ruled that Detective Rivera had qualified immunity and therefore could not be held personally liable for the federal excessive force claim because the use of a C-clamp hold had not been clearly established as a violation of the Fourth Amendment. However, as of the date of writing this episode, the federal claim is still pending against the city, and the state law claims remain viable against both Detective Rivera and the city. Overall, Detective Rivera gets an F for maintaining an unprofessional and disrespectful demeanor throughout the encounter, unnecessarily employing physical force against Mr. Garces instead of exploring alternative solutions, and potentially arresting Mr. Garces without probable cause. From the moment he arrived on the scene, Detective Rivera expressed unfounded hostility towards Mr. Garces, who, at that time, was simply providing a witness statement to another officer after.
And that's why I'm so confused. Like, he was providing a statement and you telling him to leave. Like, bro, you don't see him providing a statement. Like, first of all, how y'all want respect and y'all don't give respect, bro? Like, obviously, if you're gonna respect somebody, they're gonna respect you back.
You're working to save the life of a shooting victim. And while I understand that he wanted to secure the crime scene, there was no need to speak about and to Mr. Garces in such an insolent tone. Although Mr. Garces responded to Detective Rivera's hostility with inflammatory speech, Detective Rivera also escalated the situation on several occasions and ultimately resorted to a use of force that dislocated Mr. Garces' shoulder. These escalations appeared to be motivated by anger over Mr. Garces' speech, rather than legitimate investigatory or safety concerns. And this interaction demonstrates why it is essential for officers to have thick skin when dealing with disrespectful speech from members of the public.
And that's a fact, you feel me? But I'm gonna end the video off there, you feel me? It's a little bit left. If y'all wanna go watch a little bit, y'all go check that video out. But I hope y'all like this video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn that post notification bell on to never miss a video. I just want to know y'all thoughts, you feel me? I'm not going to give y'all my thoughts about this video. I was already talking the whole video, kinda, you feel me? So I want to hear y'all thoughts about this so I could respond back to her in a different video or anything. But y'all go read our constitutional rights and don't let these cops get away with it. And the video's done.